What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome in to CHGO Bulls pregame. Coming to you live from our studios here in the West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck, joined by my guy, Will the Go Gottlieb. Will_Gottlieb on the Twitter machine. Our pal and producer, Joseph Spathis, back in the saddle. What's up, Joe?
What's up, Matt?
There you go.
In your face.
Missed you, man. Glad to have you back.
Missed you too.
Had to deal with Braggs and his nonsense.
I missed you, but it was also two remote shows. Oh, but there was a couple that I did miss, actually. There was
earlier this past week.
HQ.
I missed a couple, but I got some good producing in for having to be away. So I missed you guys, but I'm glad I wasn't too far away.
Indeed. Our guy Big Dave should be joining us momentarily, and we got Bulls Cavs on deck tonight. Thank you for joining us. If you're hanging out on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. Shout out to Dinko Hoops, Spooky Kitty, Fish, Joel. What's going on, everybody? Bulls looking for their first win against Cleveland this season. Took a loss to the Cavs in late December in a game when both teams were significantly shorthanded. We'll get to tonight's injury updates for both squads a little bit later on, but William wanted to begin tonight's pregame by touching on some interesting updates in the Zach LaVine trade market saga.
Are there updates?
I mean, I would consider them updates, yeah, because there's being, we're hearing two different things right now from within the Bulls and Zach's camp, and then what certain national NBA heads who have intel have been saying over the past weekend. Let's start with this. You noted today on Twitter, amongst others, that today is January 15th. So lots of other players who previously were not eligible to be traded because of their, last offseason signed contracts are now eligible, including names like, Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura over there in Lakerland. And on top of that, there's been a lot more talk about Zach. He was at this morning shoot-around in Cleveland and was talking to the traveling beat media out there, including Casey Johnson from NBC. And Zach said this when asked about, where his focus is and the January 15th and the upcoming trade deadline. Zach said, quote, "We're winning. There's nothing better than that. I don't think about trades at all. Unless I get a call from my agent, it's just another day at the office for me. I'm glad to be out here playing." Will, obviously that is the correct and probably predictable PR answer from Zach. Do you believe that he has shifted his frame of mind from in early November when it was reported that he and his camp told the Bulls, hey, I'm open to a trade?
I'm not sure. I would imagine probably not. I think I've been kind of saying this. The toothpaste is out of the tube with this situation.
Such a gross metaphor.
It is. But I think it's true because, first of all, and the way there's been a lot of people on Twitter saying Zach never actually asked for a trade. I think that's totally false. He did not specifically demand a trade request. But what happened was the Bulls tried to trade him last summer. Mm-hmm. He knew that and didn't like it.
Yeah.
The team came out and was really terrible to start the season. He said now both parties acknowledge that they would like to find a new home for Zach.
Yeah.
Meaning Zach is comfortable with the trade. The Bulls, who were already comfortable with the trade, are still comfortable with the trade. So really, that whole situation in that report from Shams was that Zach was coming to terms with, I would like to be moved.
Right.
He didn't explicitly ask for a trade, but he may as well have, and he probably did behind the scenes. Okay? But that's just a guess. There's no hard reporting on that. So fast forward to now when he goes down and the team starts playing better and now he's back. I think a big part of the frustration was that it was clear that, one, this team was not headed in any different direction that was more conducive to winning. And two, that they were so bad that it's like, if you want to win, then you kind of have to ask out. So even though they're winning now and looking a lot better, I don't necessarily think this situation has changed. Mark and I totally disagree that like what Zach wants matters here. Like I don't think if Zach decided that he wants to say that changes things. I don't think if Zach decides that he wants to leave, that changes things. The Bulls are going to do what they're going to do because Zach is under contract and because Zach does not have a no trade clause. So all in all, I do not think that this really changes anything other than maybe his reputation if he continues playing this way.
So the frame of mind and you know the quote that I just read, Zach finished up those comments with something similar to what we heard him say before one of those terrible performances against Orlando. You know, soon after that trade report came out, saying, "Hey, like my focus is here. As long as I'm here in a Bulls jersey, my focus is on the next game at hand. I'm bought in."
Right stuff.
You know, saying all the right stuff, and then he went out and played like a disinterested, you know, disengaged, not very good version of Zach LaVine in that game. So myself and plenty of Bulls fans called bullshit. Your focus is clearly not on the Orlando Magic in tonight's game because you played like someone who's checked out and played poorly. But him saying the same thing when he did say it this morning shoot-around, you know, the focus is on the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. Maybe you believe it a little bit more because of the version of Zach we've seen since he came back from injury. And that is kind of what they were discussing on the most recent episode of NBA Today. Wilbon was there talking with Windhorst, amongst others. I think Kendrick was there, Malika hosting. And Wilbon saying, well, the sample size from Zach since he came back is small, but should it be changing my mind as a Bulls fan about whether the Bulls keep him or trade him? And then he tossed it over to Windhorst, who said something that is quite the opposite of I'm bought in, I'm happy to be here, you know, as long as I'm here, I'm here. Brian Windhorst said, quote, "If the Bulls could trade Zach LaVine in the next 5 minutes, they would trade him, and Zach would happily go to the airport. I don't think anything has changed there. I think they absolutely want to trade him." So that is a fairly in-the-know person, and I think somebody, PDS X or 10, in the comments pointing out, you know, Windhorst and his strong relationship with the people high up at Clutch, might be really in the know as far as what's going on with Zach and his camp, saying the Bulls still want to trade Zach, and Zach still wants a trade himself.
Well, I think also Zach probably realized that he can't just like pout his way to another team. Like, regardless of whether he wants to be here or not, he still has to play and show up every day and be professional, which he was not doing to start the year.
Yeah.
Now he's doing that, and that's going to maybe help his trade value. But I don't necessarily think that means that he now all of a sudden wants to stay here. Like I said, I just don't see that situation changing. I think it kind of is what it is at this point. But what has changed is I think Zach has an understanding, or at the very least Clutch has told Zach that, look, if you do want to leave, you have to start playing like a professional basketball player,
right?
Showing up for work every day and fitting into a system to prove to other teams that you can show up to work every day and fit into a system. And that's what he's doing. So to me, this is more just about helping his trade stock around the league, marketing himself as a co-star as opposed to a primary star. And I think that's exactly what he needs to do in order for somebody to feel comfortable trading for him.
Yeah. Dinko in the comments mentioning that they are not a fan of Windhorst because they believe Windy is a big Bulls hater, biggest Bulls hater in big media. I wouldn't necessarily agree. I think there are some big NBA media people who dislike or maybe discredit the Bulls way more often and more aggressively than Windhorst does. I mean, one of his regular co-hosts on Hoop Collective, Tim Bontemps, loves trashing the Bulls in the city of Chicago. John Hollinger, there's another one for you.
I think they just dislike teams that are clearly doing something that does not make sense to them.
Right. And that is the other thing that Windhorst said in that conversation on NBA Today that I was like, thank you. Somebody in the national media needs to say this. Thank you for saying this. When he was talking with Wilbon about is this version of Zach and the fact that the Bulls are winning more games recently enough to convince whoever, Zach, you know, the Bulls brass, Bulls ownership, front office, that what you need to do is actually keep Zach because this version of him is useful in helping you win, and the Bulls have climbed up the standings to at least be in the play-in picture now. So, yay. And Windhorst said, no, because that's not where you want to be. You don't want to be in 9th, 4 or 5 games behind 7th and 8th, which I think the Bulls have made up maybe a game or a game and a half since this conversation happened because of some losses taken by the team ahead of them. But it's still the same thing. Like, I am terrified that the Bulls are going to talk themselves into standing pat and doing nothing at this trade deadline because, hey, we won a few games. We got closer to being back to 500 halfway through the season. Let's keep this group together because we have seen them do it time and again with mediocre rosters. It's just refreshing to hear somebody like Windhorst say that on a national NBA TV show because that is how I feel, and I don't think I'm alone there as a Bulls fan. Yes, good for Zach. He's playing better. Maybe it's upping his trade value. Just because you're winning a few games does not mean you should give up on the idea of significantly changing this roster at the deadline.
100% agree. And to me, there's been a lot of pushback about, well, AK inherited a rebuild. He doesn't want to do that again. Well, he had a bunch of young players and he traded for vets. He doesn't want to go through that stuff again. Mm-hmm. But he also said mediocrity is not good enough. And at what point during his tenure, after Alonzo went down, have the Bulls been anything other than mediocre at best? So to me, I don't care about 14-9. I don't care about this stretch that the Bulls have played and looking a lot better. To me, there still need to be major changes. I think you have some pieces that you can feel comfortable building with, but there's no foundational piece that you can build around. And that's the hardest thing to find in basketball, right? I'm not knocking them for not having that, but I am knocking them for not putting themselves in a position to try to eventually find that. Because the longer they continue on with this, the harder it's going to be. It's not easy to find a superstar in the draft every other year between 10 and 14. It's not easy to find a superstar in free agency when you are right up against the luxury tax and you can't trade anybody on this roster because everybody's value is so low that it's not really helping you that way either. So to me, and we could talk about Zach LaVine and trade market stuff. To me, I think they do need to trade Zach eventually, but right now, I don't think it helps them to trade him for nothing, to dump him for essentially salary relief when he represents one of the only ways that you can eventually come to a point of working with a surplus of assets.
Yeah.
Right now, the Bulls are not at a surplus of assets. So that's the best way to eventually inherit a star, whether it's through the draft and getting lucky in the lottery or trading a bunch of picks to go out and get somebody
right
on the trade market. Like the Bulls have no way of doing that. And I think if they trade Caruso, if they trade DeMar right now, they can capitalize on their value, still stay relatively competitive because the teams behind them are really bad, and also put themselves in a position to have assets to be able to use down the line. And right now, I just think they are making life so much more difficult for themselves. And we've already seen the effects of that, right? Zach's trade value has gone from, who knows, something potentially good to absolutely nothing, where the landscape is barren and there's no trades out there for him. And I think the same thing is probably going to be true with, DeMar next year at this offseason. Certainly if they extend him, maybe Caruso gets injured and he's got a half a year left on his contract and you can't get anything for him now. I just think the priority has to be on asset collection. And it all comes back to this idea of, why are you competing to be in the play-in race? If you said mediocrity wasn't good enough, why are you competing for the play-in race?
Preach. Will, you did some of your part to up Zach's trade value on Bulls Twitter today by pointing out that of all these players that are getting talked about being traded between now and February 8th, he has among the highest defensive EPMs of that entire group of players on the trading block right now. Yeah. Who says Zach LaVine can't play defense?
Well, it's more about his perception around the league is just so bad right now.
Yeah.
And I understand a lot of people just don't like him. I understand he's making a ton of money, and that's a very tough contract to swallow when you're facing down the barrel of these, massive ramifications in the new CBA.
It is.
But he is a average defender who can score 25 points per game on 50, 40, 85 efficiency, 60% true shooting. That's super valuable. He can shoot threes. To me, why wouldn't you prefer Zach LaVine over Pascal Siakam if you're a team like the Lakers or the Kings, who one of these guys can shoot 40% on volume of threes and will be under contract. Another might leave in free agency, can't shoot threes, and actually has a worse defensive EPM. I just don't understand the narrative about
Solid
him.
argument there.
And I'm not trying to say Zach LaVine is this all-world stopper. I don't think that's the case. I think he is average when he's locked in. And if you are a 25-point-per-game scorer, like a Jamal Murray or a DeJounte Murray, or maybe DeJounte is not even quite there yet, but Bradley Beal, he's on the same level as all these guys. He just hasn't been in the right situation. I really want to see him get moved to a team like the Lakers who can put him in a position to be great.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I see people in the comments also talking about the Lakers specifically. And you had it, by the way, go check it out, allchgo.com, a column that came out today, 6 different potential Zach LaVine trades with 6 different teams. I think one of them was a 3-team trade.
One of them was a 3-team trade.
There's some cool, frisky stuff in there, but not on NBA Today, but on the latest episode of Hoop Collective that I was listening to today, Windhorst also said, and we know he has an inroad with the Los Angeles Lakers, he said he believes there is a 0.0% chance that the Lakers trade for Zach LaVine before the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know that I really buy it. I think a lot can change between now and then. I believe the deadline
Maybe
is
he's just
24.
doing the Lakers' dirty work and trying to get the Bulls to lower their asking price for Zach.
Well, it's like if you're the Lakers, the best thing you can offer is like a protected pick in 6 years.
Yeah.
Or Austin
2029,
Reeves, who's becoming overrated,
yeah,
in my opinion. He's a good player on a good contract, pretty overrated as a trade asset. I get you don't want to put $40 million worth into a third star, but if you are the Lakers and you are outside the play-in tournament looking in and you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis both playing at the level they're playing, you have nothing to give up. Like, why wouldn't you want to go buy low on a star player that fits them really well? Like, you think Pascal Siakam would fit better there? I don't.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
And DeJounte Murray's pretty overrated too, I think.
Yeah. I think Atlanta made that move thinking that not only could he add some, dynamic scoring punch to that backcourt duo with Trey, but kind of mask some of Trey's defensive weaknesses. And I really don't think that version of DeJounte has
also
been showing up in Atlanta.
LaVine is an upgrade defensively over D'Angelo Russell.
Yes.
Like a upgrade.
Yes.
So if you can replace D'Angelo Russell's minutes and into Zach LaVine, and the cost of doing business is a pick in 6 years,
right?
And Rui Hachimura, like, that seems like a no-brainer to me.
Okay, let's take a quick break, shout out some sponsors, then we'll come back and shift our focus to tonight's Bulls-Cavs action. I saw I think it was Anthony in the comments earlier asking about injury updates, starting lineups. We will get to that on the other side. Both teams have released their starting 5 for tonight's game. While we are sharing these words from our friends and sponsors, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button if you're hanging out with us on YouTube. We appreciate it. Joey needs it for his jar of thumbs. Oh, by the way, first bucket tonight, Joe? You back on the first bucket bandwagon?
No, I have not hit a bet since the Patrick Williams parlay, which was one of the first games of the season. So
make sure you don't bet Patrick Williams tonight because he is not playing.
He is not playing. I do not have a bet for the first basket. I'll look into it, though.
Okay. Well, it won't be Patrick Williams because, yes, that is spoiler alert for our injury updates. Patrick Williams' game time decision with that lingering sore ankle was just ruled out of tonight's game. So no Pat. Make your bets. Get some in. You still got time at Circa Sportsbook. They offer that tight money line split. And, of course, use the low hold model, always striving for their starting out odds for game spreads, point total over-unders to be minus 110, not 115 or 120 like a lot of those other sports bettors do. They don't limit players based on their winnings, so every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit their winning players. So if you, unlike Joey, are on a hot streak right now, keep that hot streak going, and Circa won't limit you. They encourage their bettors to, of course, download and try their Circa Sports Illinois app, but on top of that, download and try any sports betting apps you want to experience and give a try because, sure, variety's the spice of life. Circa is confident in what they do and how well they do it, that more often than not, you'll find best value, best odds, and the best user experience at Circa compared to those other sports bettors. They also have unparalleled customer service. Real people behind the Circa app who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike those other sports bettors who use the dreaded chatbots. Nobody likes chatbots. Download that Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for Circa's events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. Text GAMB to 833-234 or visit areyoureallywinning.com. Joseph.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What time is it?
Game time. Who?
Hey-oh! Pre-game also brought to you by our friends at Game Time, the wonderful ticketing app. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, the oh-so-important view from your seat feature. Cannot buy tickets to anything without that. I insist upon it. Game Time has it for you. And their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. They have the last-minute tickets. You can score tickets that have dropped prices to an event that is about to start, or even maybe just started a half an hour ago, and you make an impromptu decision with some friends. Let's go see that concert tonight or go to this game tonight. Flash deals, zone deals, and, of course, that low-price guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and the same row for less in a different ticketing app or different ticketing site, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use that redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Because Willie go, golly, what time is it?
Game Time. Who?
Game Time. Who? All right, so shifting to tonight. Bulls, we just mentioned, Patrick Williams ruled out. I did see there was a tweet from KC Johnson relaying an update from Billy Donovan before Pat was ruled out, saying that there is nothing structurally wrong with this ankle that's been giving Pat problems on and off for the last month or so, that Patrick has been playing through a manageable amount of lingering soreness, and some nights he can go and sometimes he can't. Also, Donovan adding that there has not been any talk amongst him, team doctors, anybody, of like shutting Patrick down for an extended absence dealing with this. So gets the scratch tonight. Hopefully he can come back and play in their next game in a couple of days. Io and Dalen also popped up on the injury report, but probable, I assume they also will have the green light tonight, and with no Patrick, may see some more Dalen minutes. Io with a left shoulder contusion. I'm guessing it was when he took that hard fall into the stanchion in their game on Saturday night. And then Dalen dealing with some left patella tendonitis. But just Pat as far as people who are out tonight. Eco Beans. No P. Will. There goes 9 points and 3 rebounds. Cavs, meanwhile, Darius Garland still out with that freak injury where he had a fractured jaw in that game in mid-December. Evan Mobley still on the shelf recuperating. He had arthroscopic knee surgery in mid-December. He is out for a while longer, so help for the Bulls on that front. Max Strus, who actually lit up the Bulls in the Bulls' loss on December 23rd to these Cleveland Cavaliers, was questionable game-time decision with knee soreness. The Cavs did give him the green light. So starting 5 for Cleveland, we are looking at Donovan Mitchell, who, by the way, did not play in that Bulls loss to the Cavs in December. Max Strus, Okoro, Wade, and Allen. So this is still a shorthanded Cavs team, but the Cavs were even more shorthanded than they were when they beat the Bulls back in December, because they did not have Donovan Mitchell in that one. Also, worth noting, Bulls did not have Zach LaVine in that game. Kobe White also had one of his really bad three-point shooting slump games in that stretch. He was 0 of 8 from downtown in that game, which the Bulls lost 109 to 95. Not a great offensive night. What do you see, Will, as being the key or a couple of keys that you'll be keeping an eye on tonight for the Bulls to try to get their first win against the Cavs this season?
Well, I think for one, the Cavs are just on fire. In the last 2 weeks, they are 4-1 with a plus 12.6 point differential. It's second in the league. They're second in defense and 13th in offense. So one thing they've been doing is just playing a lot more through Jarrett Allen. And when you remove a second non-shooting big in Mobley and you can replace him with George Niang or some various combination of other shooters at the wing, that really opens up the floor. And now you put Donovan Mitchell back in there. There's a ton of space to operate. Spread pick and roll action where he's really, really deadly. So defend as 5 as usual. That's kind of their MO on that end of the floor, and they're going to have to do a really good job of crawling him. But I think the big thing is trying to turn off all these other dribble handoffs into threes from guys like Strus. Dean Wade killed them on some of those last games. So it's just staying attached, staying in concentration with all these guys. It's so tough just from a, like I said, concentration standpoint, to be able to chase these guys off of screens and contest shots and not foul and stay focused on them. I think that's going to be the key. And then also just finding ways to, chip away and like get into the middle of the floor against them. Second overall in defense in the last 2 weeks. They are a really, really good defensive team, even without one of their best defensive players. Was Mobley all defense last year? He might have been. If not,
remember.
He was right up there. So
yeah,
they're just a really, really solid team, and a team that, like I said, generates a ton of system points. And when you combine that with, shooting well from some of your role players, from defending well, it becomes a really tough team to beat. But the way that they're passing the ball through Jarrett Allen in the middle of the floor, I think, is really dangerous.
Mobley was all defensive first team last season. This Cavs team, you mentioned this hot streak they're on. They are on a 4-game win streak coming in tonight. They've won 7 of their last 10, currently sitting in 4th place in the Eastern Conference. Worth noting that their level of competition in this recent hot streak has been subpar. Those 4 straight wins are 2 wins against the Wizards, who are hilarious. The San Antonio Spurs, who the Bulls managed to beat, and the Brooklyn Nets in that Paris game that just happened. I think this is the Cavs' first game since getting back from their Paris trip. And Donovan Mitchell dropped a season-high 45 points in that win. So kudos to the Cavs for putting this nice string of wins together, but level of competition has not been great.
Yeah, but when you are missing a bunch of your good players, what you want to do is stay afloat. And so they're taking care of business, doing the things that they need to do to beat the teams that they're clearly better than. And, this Eastern Conference is still so jumbled up. Cavs right now in 4th place at 7 games back. Heat are 7 games back in 5th place. The Pacers are 7 games back in 6th place. The Knicks are 7.5 games back in 7th place. And the Magic are 8.5 back in 8th place. So maybe it's not like the most impressive teams that they're winning against, but and Donovan was out for a while too, like to be that shorthanded and still be taking care of business on a nightly basis tells you that they're a well-coached team, that they're a defensive team, and that they can generate points through system play and through moving the ball and through Jarrett Allen, who's been racking up the assists.
That he has. Connor in the comments saying that he's more terrified of Max Strus than Donovan Mitchell. I think I saw somebody earlier in the comments mention that Donovan Mitchell, 71 that he had against the Bulls last season? Of course, including the uncalled lane violation that ended up being one of the key plays late in that close game that the Cavs ended up pulling out. Strus led the Cavs, the very short-handed Cavs, in that win against us in December with 26 points. He was 5 of 17 from 3. So, I don't see Max Strus chucking up 17 more threes tonight. But to your point, I feel like the Cavs have done a better job after kind of a rocky start figuring out where to find their looks offensively. And obviously Donovan Mitchell being back will help that. But, an undrafted rookie, Craig Porter, dropped almost 20 points against the Bulls team. Like, he could play, but that was a rare game. It's not like he was getting a lot of minutes until the Cavs were so desperate with this string of injuries. So people on this Cavs team have proved time and again that they can step up. And the Bulls defense that's looked okay at times and then lack at times in this recent sort of midseason turnaround they're having, they'll have their hands full with at least a healthy Donovan Mitchell, Allen, Strus out there playing. It'll be a tough test for the Bulls defensively.
The other piece I forgot to mention, which I think is going to be a very big key for the Bulls, is defensive rebounding. Cavs kind of killed him in that last game. I believe that was the game where Billy went to the Vooch and Drummond lineup briefly. Jarrett Allen, who's averaging 20, 15, and 5 with a steal and a block and a half over his last 8 games, is also averaging 5.5 offensive rebounds per game. Mm-hmm. They've really got to be sure to not let that become a problem, because that's where the kick out threes happen. That's where the free throws happen on second chance points. So they have to make life easy on themselves, and preventing teams from offensive rebounding is the way to do that.
Game time Bulls Nation in the comments saying Drummond has been silent since the benching. Look forward for a bounce back on his end. That'll be interesting to see if Billy Donovan kind of continues this recent trend of, since Vooch got back into the starting lineup job after a couple games off the bench, that Drummond's minutes have taken a bit of a hit.
For all of the talk about how great Drummond and Vooch are at rebounding. Bulls are 20th in defensive rebounding percentage.
Yeah, which I believe they were a top 5 defensive rebounding percentage team last season.
They were until the end of the year, and then they completely fell off a cliff.
Yeah. Shout out to Anthony who said, hope you guys are staying warm there in Chi-Town. C-Red, let's go. It is a cold one. It's a cold one yesterday, cold one today. But I was excited about the fact that I got to wear my real heaviest, winteriest coat today. I hadn't worn it since probably last winter.
Coats.
What?
I was wearing two
You're wearing 2 coats. Also a hoodie and a flannel. Is that one piece or are those?
No,
that's layers.
Layers.
You got a good winter looks, man.
Got a lot of layers.
The plain gray hoodie. That's a different plain gray hoodie.
Different plain.
Speaking of which, Dalen Terry, y'all can go check it out on the Bulls Twitter account.
That's my next purchase.
His in-game walking into the stadium fit was a plain gray hoodie with an extra hoodie compartment off to the side. I'm confused. I hope we get a question and answer about that, because why does your hoodie need 2 head holes?
I think you forgot his conjoined twin today.
You don't have any hoodies with 2 head holes?
I do not.
And I don't know who makes that hoodie with 2 head holes, but I'm guessing it was more expensive than the one you're wearing.
I would venture to guess.
Shout out to People Supporter in the comments who was talking about the Bulls, not how they can't let Cleveland shooters open tonight, dealing with their switching issues. Also asking me if the Bulls get to 500, will I cry? No. I am someone who will cry if the emotion hits me in the right ways. But no, I won't cry if the Bulls get to 500. Will I be frustrated if a Bulls team that manages to drag their ass to 500 right around as we get close to the trade deadline encourages the people in charge of decision-making with this organization to do nothing? Then yes, I will be frustrated. I will not cry, but there will probably be many thrown hats involved.
Matt is the person who invented heart attack of relief, so
this is true.
You can never really be sure about what's coming with regards to his emotions.
P. Will, also appreciate you saying that you enjoyed my Jordan rant. I mean, it wasn't just a Jordan rant. It was a rant about all of the people and reasons that were responsible for what we saw happen Friday night happen. I think a lot of people are to blame for what happened, but I hold firm, despite getting a lot of flack from a lot of directions from people who you're never allowed to say anything bad about Michael Jordan in this town. I said one bad thing about Michael Jordan that I still think is kind of true, that he was partly responsible for what happened at the United Center on Friday night. But so are the Bulls, so are their event coordinators, and most importantly and most responsibly were the dumbass fans who booed. All right, that's it. We are past 6 o'clock Central Time. That means tip-off is just seconds away. We'll be right back here for post-game live with our guy Big Dave on the other side. Follow Will for his in-game thoughts and updates. Will_Gottlieb. I'm Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO Bulls. Our pound producer is young Joseph Spathis. Give that man your thumb. All right, talk to you after the game. Let's hoop.